Hi, and welcome to another in the series of Hearthstone Jamaica tutorials on the various classes. Today we're going to be looking at Hunter class, very controversial class, a very hated class overall. So we're switching things up a bit today. Instead of the usual one-on-one discussion, we're actually going to be getting multiple insights from three different players, talking about three different Hunter decks, or we might even possibly see them talking about the same deck and giving their different opinions. So first up on the list today, our extra special guest, the Chiv. Chiv, take it away.
Yeah, when he says extra special, that means short bus special. Hi everybody, Shiv here.
Derp, 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 derp.
Yeah, I I'm currently the manager for Luminosity Gaming's Hearthstone team. I've been playing this game since before it was even out in CBT, running it on a cockatrice emulator. I've been doing like tournament organization or community organizations. I've been making content. Geez, I've done like everything you possibly could do in Hearthstone. I've made videos. I've done podcast shows. Pretty much, if it was out there, I somehow got my fingers in it.
You the man.
Yeah, pretty much. But all right. So I've been asked today to talk about Hunter. This is actually probably the first class I really fell in love with when I started playing the game back in CBT. Back then, we had very different decks than what we have now. We had more Beast Synergy that almost played a lot like a Zoo deck. And then we had a very combo-centric deck that basically pissed off everybody and locked out some of the strongest decks that are now relevant today. So, but it was just too powerful, and the class has gone through so many different iterations and nerfs and nerfs and nerfs just
Well,
because
much needed nurse.
some of those were much needed, others of them were not. I'm going to say that right now because it led to some really bad things later on, which required more nerfs, but that's regardless.
The
So,
circle of life.
right. So Ghost asked me to, bring on a deck, and for this tutorial, and if this is for new players, then the deck that everybody should actually be looking to when you're starting out in Hearthstone, in my personal opinion, is going to be Hunter, and more specifically, a Face Hunter. As you can see, I've affectionately referred to this deck as AIDS because, as you'll quickly discover,
Cancer. Cancer.
Hunter is a very hated class. It's referred to as cancer, chemo, AIDS,
Kappa, Kipo,
Kappa. Oh my!
Smork.
Smork. Yeah, I mean seriously, when your deck gets its own freaking YouTube theme song, you know it's pretty toxic.
Migo face.
Yep, pretty much. All right, so we're going to take a look at the deck. Now, the deck works on a very simple principle that any fucking idiot can figure out. By the way, if you're triggered by offensive language, you may want to fast forward. All right, so the idea here is simple. Your opponent plays a board. You don't care. It's all about the face. You're always wanting to put pressure on that face. You want your opponents to trade into your minions, not you trading into theirs. Now, there are going to be occasions where you're going to have to do that, but that's going to be a judgment call that you can only learn through hours and hours and hours of playing games, reading matchups, and seeing how they balance out. All right. But in general, no, you don't trade. All right. So I'm going to go through the list here and I'm going to explain why each one of these cards is in here. All right. I will say this right now. Face Hunter is a deck that is easily adaptable to many different meta situations. Right now, we're seeing a lot of people running Secret Paladin or Freeze Mage or aggressive heal decks. All right. Aggressive heal deck pretty much does lock this deck out. Reno pretty much says, bye, Hunter, I don't care. But for secret-based decks, i.e. Paladin and Freeze Mage, there's a simple tech that you could do that could just shut them down instantly, and it's a one-card change. And that card I'm going to highlight here, because a lot of people seem to overlook this card since they did a mana increase on it,
Mm-hmm.
is Flare. This card screws up Secret Paladin. It screws up Freeze Mage so nicely. So it's a card I highly recommend you craft and have at least one of in your collection just for if you hit those metas, all right? Because nothing sucks worse than going up against a freeze mage and he's just constantly putting down ice blocks and ice barriers and you got nothing to do. If you had a flare, guess what? You win. Against the Secret Paladin, he plays Mysterious Challenger. Your next play is a Flare. He is screwed. Yeah, he's got a 6/6 on the board, but it won't matter. It won't matter. You just shredded 5 cards or up to 5 cards out of his deck.
True. And you can go face and not have to worry about Noble Sacrifice.
That is true too. And not to mention the fact you get a card draw off of it. Against Druids, it's also really good because of Shade and Naxxramas. So it's a card I highly recommend you craft and have if you're going to play a Face Hunter deck. Now, moving away from that little tidbit there, one of the reasons why Face Hunter is so popular is it's dirt cheap to build. I am not even kidding here. Let's get to this. Abusive Sergeant, common, 50 dust. Is it 50 or is it 40? I can't remember.
I think
it's 50, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 50. Because in a disenchanted, you get like 20 or something.
Abusive Sergeant. You can play it on turn 1 in a pinch, but later on, it gets even more value when you combine it with things with charge. South Sea Deckhand being one of them. Arcane Golems in a match that Ghost got to see. I used it very nicely to destroy a Sludge Belcher using Unleash the Hounds.
Indeed.
That was so epic. So it's a great card. It allows you to push more damage either to face, or if you don't get, say, a silence, which we run 2 of, you can just blow through their taunt without using your biggest minion. So it's really, really nice for that. I really like this card. All right, next up is the Leper Gnome, and we're actually going to go to the golden one because, well, why not? It's gold. Gold Leper Gnome. Does it do more damage? No, it's just prettier, which is kind of funny considering it's a Leper Gnome. Moving on. All right, so 1 mana for a 2/1 with a death rattle of 2 damage. This is very, very aggressive. When you look at the Hunter hero power of, 2 for 2, that screams aggression all day long. So piling on even more aggression with it makes a lot of sense. Even in other builds, Leper Gnome is still a really good choice here. All right. You could get a lot of value out of this if you play this turn 1 and they don't have a taunt right away. Congratulations, this is now 4 damage. If they don't kill it by the next turn, congratulations, that's now 6 damage, and so on and so on. You could get increased amount of value off your Leper Gnomes. They're hellified fun. I will warn you, though, a Shaman will Urshock this shit. I kid you not. Moving on, South Sea Deckhand. Now, this is a one-off edition. Normally, you see some people use Worgen Infiltrators because it's a stealth. I almost always like to combo these with my weapons and get even more value, so I like it for that reason. Not to mention, a lot of people do run AoEs or random damage generators, i.e., Flame Wakers, Arcane Missiles, things of that nature. So that stealth nature of your minion kind of gets a little less value. This, however, if you've got a weapon in play, bam, go for that extra 2 damage right there. Alternative, if you don't want to use this, is maybe Bluegill Warrior. Sure, why not? Or just go with a second Glaive Zuka. That works too.
Yep. Billy.
Speaking of the Glaive Zuka, 2 mana for a 2/2 weapon. Also, common. Again, common. All right? Very cheap to make. All right, so it's a 2/2 weapon, but the battle cry, give a random friendly minion +1 attack. So what I love doing is turn 1 playing a South Sea Deckhand, turn 2 playing a Glaive Zuka. Bam! That's 5 damage right there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, sometimes you might actually be forced to use the Glaive Zuka to remove something. You might have to use the South Sea Deckhand to get rid of a taunt just to do 2 damage to the face. You're always going to want to keep pressure on the face. Trading is bad with this deck. I'm going to say that right now. Trading is bad. You want them to trade into you. Because when you trade and have no board and it goes on to their turn, they're in an advantage. You don't want them to ever be an advantage. You always want to keep them on the back foot. That way they cannot set up a defense. That way they cannot counter your plays. You always want to do that. All right. Explosive Trap. Traditionally, this is a really nice way of clearing out things like muster for battle, implosions, things of that nature. And when you consider like a lot of aggressive decks run things with 2 health, this makes a lot of sense. Now, generally, you never want to play this out of hand for a very obvious reason. It's a tempo loss, which is why we keep Mad Scientist, which we're going to cover there. But it's a really great secret, works well with the Eagle Horn Bow, and it's also doing 2 damage to their face. So, again, always keeping that pressure on your opponents. Yeah. Now, there are times where you might want to hold on to one of these in your hand when you get it, but that's a judgment call that you're going to have to wait for. But it's not a bad thing. All right? It's not a bad thing.
It's all about the experience and learning the matchups.
All right. Quick shot. Now I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to look at this card. 2 mana for 3 damage. All right, yeah, it's kind of a Frostbolt, but it's a Frostbolt that if you have an empty hand, which as you play this deck, you'll realize that's going to happen quite often, you're going to get a card draw out of it. But don't hold it back for that. 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to use this to combo damage to the face. However, in a pinch, you could use it to finish off, say, a taunt minion or maybe a knife juggler, just to keep that thing from causing you any problems. Again, Knife Juggler is a threat that warrants this. So is Northshire Cleric. So it's a really good card for that. It's got some interesting functionality, but don't get too hung up on the functionality. That's where a lot of people make mistakes with this card, myself included.
Trying to be greedy and get maximum value.
That is true. That is true. Haunted Creeper. Okay, so we're a hunter. Hunters are the first class that ever had any kind of synergy with an archetype. And for us, it's beasts. Shamans have totems and murlocs now. Paladins have murlocs and their little tokens that they spawn. Druids got beasts. Warriors got armor. I know, it's not...
Rogues got spiders.
Rogues got spiders. Yeah, so... And pirates. Let's not forget about them.
Arr.
So, I mean... It is a synergy that hunters have had since day one. As a matter of fact, they had a lot of stuff that really helped on it. And one of the cards that we're going to be looking at actually originally was more for that, but they had to change it for obvious reasons. But Haunted Creeper is a really good card. You get a lot of value out of this. There are times where you're going to have to coin this out turn 1, and it's a good value play. You can trade into anything with 2 health, boom, and you're going to have 2 1/1s on the board. Most likely, they're not going to be able to clear it effectively. So you'll be able to get rid of the thing that had the 2 health and still have a remainder of 1, which you could possibly use on, say, a Leper Gnome if they play that as a follow-up, or Abusive Sergeant, or whatever. So it's actually really cool. But it also combos very nicely with another card we're going to get here in like 2 more cards. Ironbeak Owl. Silence is golden when it comes to face hunter. Taunts suck ass.
Taunts are cheating.
Taunts are cheating. Yes, they are. So a taunt basically is like a speed bump to your aggression. All right. You are always in the fast lane. You're always focused right on one place, which is normally their face. So when a Sludge Belcher comes down, that really screws that up because a Sludge Belcher will soak up 7 damage. That's 7 damage you could have taken to face. But, oh, look at this. Ironbeak Owl says, nope, screw you. And it is a beast, which means it's going to synergize with the kill commands that you have. Many a times you might actually want to hold on to this just to proc with the kill command. Lord knows I've done it many a times.
Cheat beast someone.
Yes, you generally do not want to use these willy-nilly. You almost always want to hold on to these for the taunt. And that's the God's honest truth. Using them elsewhere, you run a real risk of screwing yourself later. All right, Knife Juggler. Knife Juggler is a very aggressive card, especially when you're talking about a deck that has a lot of low drop cards, or something that spawns a lot of minions in one fell swoop, which this deck has quite a bit of that. For 2 mana, 3/2, its body is pretty average when you look at any other 2-drop minion. Its direct comparison would be the, Bloodfen Raptor, but its ability... And this is also like one of the first rares we're getting to. Is it? Yeah, it's one of the first rares we get to. All right, so its ability. After you summon a minion, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. This is kind of like a pray and spray mechanic, but if you look at the mana curve, getting the Haunted Creeper down first and then playing the Knife Juggler, what happens then is you could run the Haunted Creeper into something, It dies. 2 minions are summoned. This causes a knife juggler to shoot out 2 little knives. That's great for clearing a board. In other cases, you might want to wait till like after turn 5. Your opponent has a really nice board, right? And you're kind of struggling. You got the knife juggler, and you've got the Unleash the Hounds. Well,
Unleash the
congratulations.
dragon.
Yep. Congratulations. You most likely just Shrek the shit out of their board, if not their face.
Mm-hmm.
And GG. So, yeah, Knife Juggler is a definite threat, and it's actually a really good play if you want to coin this out turn 1, because it forces your opponents to answer right then. And this is a prime target for them to answer. If they don't have an answer, that's pretty much going to tell you you're going to have a lot of leeway with them. All right, moving on to the Mad Scientist. Now, this deck does have a little bit of card draw mechanic with the quick shot, and as I stated previous to this, if you want to mess around and have a flare in there, that's another one. But the reality is the Mad Scientist is how you thin out your deck. Mad Scientists pull a very specific type of card, that is secrets. And we only run 2 secrets, so being able to get these into play for free is really, really helpful. However, its utility does suffer, but then again, we're only using it for the damage for the most part anyway, so it's okay.
Sure.
And also, 2 mana, you can play this on turn 2 and go right into an Eagle Horn Bow, trade, boom, and you've already set yourself up perfectly to have, more durability coming into your Eagle Horn Bow. It's also really fucks with your opponents, and they will actually sit there and not attack because of that setup. And let's be honest, if they ain't attacking, that's
More
good.
time to go face.
Exactly. So, moving down to Eagle Horn Bow. This actually used to be a lot better. It used to get procs off of any secret. Yeah, they quickly realized that was really holding back mages and paladins, so they had to change it.
The good old days when secrets used to even proc on any turn.
Oh, could you imagine if Eagle Horn Bow still procced on anything? Yeah, Secret Paladin would not be a thing. I'll tell you that, right? And if it would be a thing, it would also come with a Harrison Jones.
This is true.
All right. So it's a great card. When you play in conjunction with your hero power, that's 5 a turn. And if you can't do simple math, that basically puts them on a 6-turn clock. All right, moving on to Animal Companion.
BRB. No, you can keep going. You can keep
I was
going.
about to say, that's a good time to go BRB. Animal Companion, 3 mana, summon spell. It's a powerful ass minion you're gonna get. You're either gonna get a Leok, which is a 2/4 that increases the attack of all minions on your board by 1. This is really good in conjunction with like an Unleash the Hounds or with all the rest of your minions that are on the board. All right. You could get Huffer, the preferred minion of every single hunter there is. Huffer is a 4/2 with charge, so playing on curve, this could be really devastating. And the final one is Misha, which is a 4/4 taunt. Not overly too ideal, but hey, you know what? They're still going to have to deal with the Misha before they can deal with any of your other minions, so it's not horribly bad. It's still 4 damage, it's just a little slower. And because it's a secret, or because it's a spell, my bad, it will not proc things like Mirror Entity from the mage. So you don't have to worry about them getting this. So much. Kill Command. This is pretty much like one of the best finishers for the hunter. It's 5 damage as long as you've got a beast in play. However, there are going to be times you're going to have to use this to get rid of a taunt. True fact. You will have to use this to get rid of a taunt. And you have to be flexible with that. All right? Remember, the idea of this deck is to go to face as much as you can. Sometimes you're going to have to figure ways of doing that effectively. And Kill Command might have to be sacrificed for that. Unleash the Hounds is just arguably one of the best minion spawners out there.
Mm-hmm.
What I really love about the card is it pairs up really nice with the Knife Juggler. It pairs up really nice against decks like Paladins and things of that nature. So in a pinch, if you're already behind and you're trying to regain and, stabilize yourself, you could pop this out, take it all face, and force them to come at you. The downside here is any fucking AoE will wipe them out. So, you kind of get screwed on this, which is pretty much why you really only want to use this if you've got like a really good play coming in. You don't just want to throw this out turn 3. That's like a horrible play. All right, so sometimes you're going to want to hold on to this like turn 4 with coin and you got a knife juggler, or turn 5 with knife juggler. You may want to hold on to it to the very end. That way you can go for that fatality with the kill commands.
That big burst.
Yes, you can. Like I said, this deck may not have that many beasts, but because of Unleash the Hounds, you can always pull a beast when needed. All right, so now we're going to get to some of the charge minions. Here's where this deck has modified many a times over the past year.
Wolf Rider!
All right, okay, so first off, we're going to talk about the Arcane Golem. I have loved this card since CBT. I used to use this in the original Warlock aggro decks, and people couldn't figure out how to deal with it. 3 mana for a 4/2 charge. Yeah, basically it's tougher, but
downside,
the battle cry gives mana to your opponent. Now, why does this matter? Well, because if your opponent has more mana, then they could possibly put out multiple taunts, this and the other. So you kind of want to hold on to these till like your end game. Unless you've got just a really good setup to where, you know, everything is hitting its mark. Sure, why not? You know, just go ahead, push that damage.
Yep.
But again, the more mana you give your opponents, the quicker you're getting them to having a relief play. And that's something you generally don't want to do. So you kind of want to save this to the very end. There's nothing more disgusting than on a turn 8, silencing the one taunt that they have, and then playing 2 Arcane Golems, going straight face for the win. So that's really nice. And not to mention, because of its cheap cost of 3, combine it with Abusive Sergeants to get some excellent value. Excellent value. All right, and the last card of the deck is the Argent Horse Rider. 3 mana for a 2/1. That seems a little shitty when you look at the Arcane Golem, right? But hey, guess what, guys? It also has a Divine Shield. Now, why is this relevant? Isn't this deck supposed to go face? Isn't Wolf Rider, you know, more damage? You're right. It is more damage. But as you play this game long enough, you're going to start realizing that trades are inevitable. So having a minion that you can almost dedicate solely for trading and use in combination with, say, the Abusive Sergeant to get rid of, say, oh, I don't know, a Senjin, or break down a Sludge Belcher into its 1/2 form, is not a bad deal. This actually is really, really relevant.
Yep, newly released card for TGT.
Yes, and it's cheap.
And it's a common.
It is a common. Now, we've talked about how cheap this deck is. 2 rares here. 2 rares there.
2 rares of the Eagle Horn Bow as well.
Yep, 2 rares on the Eagle Horn Bow. All right. Everything else you could get out of Naxxramas with the Haunted Creeper and Mad Scientist. And also this right here from TGT. You can build this deck dirt cheap. You will have to get Naxxramas in order to play this deck effectively, but boo-hoo.
Naxxramas is a must-have anyways, you take it, so.
Exactly. The deck is extremely dirt cheap. Oh yeah, and that's also Nax, if I remember correctly. So, that is the deck in a nutshell. Like I said, very aggressive, always to the face. And I'm going to warn you right now, don't overplay your hand. At best, you want to play 1 card every turn.
1 card and hero power every turn.
Yes, you'll get to the point where it's 1 card hero power, 1 card hero power. You're constantly keeping pressure with your hero power. Now, there are 2 classes that will counter that kind of nicely, and a third one that half-assed does it. Warriors and priests can counter your hero power very nicely, but here's the thing. If they're countering your hero power, that's lessening what they can actually play out. So that's a good advantage for you. Druid, on the other hand, can lessen the ability and deal with some of your 1/1s, but they'll end up taking more damage to the face. So they're one of those classes that really, really annoying, considering they have this thing called Ancient of War. So yeah, that one you're definitely going to want to silence. But luckily it comes out so late that you'll most likely already have them beaten by then. All right, Ghost, so now what's up?
All right, so with that being said, everybody's gotten a full look at the deck list. We're gonna switch overlays over into Hearthstone. You can unshare your screen and re-admit your friends so I can spectate the show game.
I thought I already had you on here.
Yeah, you did, but then you deleted me, cause Reasons?
I was having a bad day. Fuck off.
Yeah, I said reasons.
How do you stop shit? There we go.
Alright, so we're gonna switch over. We're just gonna switch captures here. Bada bing, bada boom. And
Actually, I think I did re-add you. No, I didn't. Holy
Nope.
shit. I'm a horrible person. Alright, what's your battle tag?
please let me win.
Really?
Yep, PLZ, let me win. 1730. I legit added someone on my friends list from my Instagram. His name is ButtPounder1640.
Oh my god.
I do not know how he got away with that name.
Alright.
That's the most epic name ever.
I think I gotta allow you. Are you able to spectate?
As soon as you start, yep, you should be able to. Unless you have it turned off in your options.
Let me check real quick. Options, allow friends to spectate my games. Oopsie.
There we go.
Alright.
Alright, so Chiv is gonna play a match with Face Hunter, which more than likely shouldn't take long. And we'll wrap up this segment of the video before moving on to another Hunter player and a different Hunter deck to be examined. So
I could have done mid. I could have come up with some crazy fucking troll shit too.
it's all good.
Alright, so we get the coin.
Ooh, this should be interesting.
Yeah.
Let the hunt begin.
Oh. Now, generally, I say don't overplay your hand, but this is one of those opportunistic times where you do.
This is one of those godlike starts. Oh wow! So he also has.
Aggro versus aggro.
Indeed, you're a very brave man playing this on ladder.
Dude, where else you gonna test it? I mean, this guy is legend too. I'm just gonna point out right now.
Yep, that legendary card back. I was running into these dudes all day. I just stopped playing. I'll wait until the ladder calms the fuck down.
So here he could actually. Oh, that's so sweet of him. Now, is he going to trade? No, he doesn't trade. That's also pretty
Smart time.
So we will actually do one trade here. We're going to play this down. And what this is effectively going to do is wipe his board, leave me in control. Now, he knows what that is. So he might actually take the safer play here and trade. Yep. And he may just... Wow, he had an option here just for hero power, but opted not to do it.
I guess he has something else he wants to say. Oh, that Zap-O-Matic.
Alright. We're okay with that. We are actually okay with that, ladies and gentlemen.
Misha?
Nope.
Nope, Leah.
But don't matter. Whatever he plays here, I'm just going to go right through it. Now, that is really dangerous. Right here, we're looking at 6 damage.
Potentially 12.
12, potentially more than that, because he can play down Flame Tongue Totem and put the Rock Fighters on it.
That's
which at that point,
hurt.
that's 10 plus that's 16 damage.
Damn.
What to do?
The struggle is so real right now.
And he's debating it. He's really debating it.
Like, how much do I want to go Smork? Do I want to go full retard or do I just want to go partial?
Right. Okay.
There's the Power Miss and the Rock Biter. Yep.
That's fine.
Wait, he put the Rock Biter on himself?
Yep. Nope, that's the right play right there.
That was interesting. So all on Mad Scientist is the play going into turn 5 for a possible Knife Juggler and Unleash the Hound.
Yep. So right there, what we did is we stopped him from having another 10 damage. Actually, he could have done a 13 damage turn there. But now, yeah,
Oh, wow.
Yep. He's just going to go fucking full ham. He went the full ham, ladies and gentlemen.
He is all in right now.
And here's where the combo... Yep, there you go. That's cool. Now watch this.
Time for some Unleash the Hound Valley.
Base is not actually where we want this to hit. Yes, there you go. Right?
Boom.
Okay, so...
Boom. Okay, so that's
all we
one
have to
less.
do here is actually just do these trades.
And just
And
go
then
face.
just go face.
Yep.
Short of him having a Kazan Mystic, we're in a really good position.
Job done.
I dare you, Taylor Fair. I double dare you to go
Yep.
face. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna make them trades, bruh.
And now he's probably going to. Is he gonna crackle?
I know you're trying.
No.
Crackle.
Yep. He. This is a pure damage v damage. All right. Because of that, I actually have to make a trade here. As I said, you
Take
will
out that 2-3.
right, because last thing I want him to do is get any more extra value here.
Well played.
Well played indeed.
Now
So,
I
yeah.
have lethal showing, and he
Top
knows
deck.
this.
Yep. In before concede. So like I said, folks, not a long match. That's how Face Hunter works. Typically, you're dead by turn 5 or 6.
That's 7.
If all goes well.
You gotta love the start of a new season. It makes every time win streak into a new thing look so pretty.
Oh my god.
But the deck is affectionately named AIDS for a fucking reason. It is just that powerful.
Dun dun
All right.
dun.
Face Hunter has been relevant in the meta for quite some time. It has never really gone away. There have been times where it's been not as effective, but it's still been used. When you're first starting out in the game, it's a great deck to grind up on ladder, and you can easily take this deck to Legend. There have been many players who've taken Face Hunter all the way to Legend.
Getting that gold portrait.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Hunter was actually the first class I got golden here. As you can see, it's animation. And because it's just so easy to play. The reason why a lot of people play this is because the games are fast. You're in and out. You can get a lot of games in per hour. Thus, your ability to grind is increased. You'll get a better win-loss ratio, so on and so on and so on. But I'd also like to point out, the more people play Face Hunter, the greater the chance of people playing counter aggro decks increases. So play it modestly. Use it to learn the basics of the game, and then start expanding to more advanced things like the Mid Hunter, or maybe come up with your own crazy variant. Lord knows I created a complete control deck based on this crap, and it was actually kind of funny. It worked for like
Nice.
a day. Well, you remember that with the Malagos and stuff?
Yeah. Fun times.
That was
Fun
great.
times.
That was so great.
But yeah, thanks to everybody for checking out this tutorial series for the Hunter class. We'll have some other players come on and talk about some other Hunter deck types that you could possibly be interested in as well. So you definitely want to stick around for that. Any final closing words from Chiv before we wrap up this section?
I like hookers and blow. Oh, no. Anyway, you can follow me at LG_the Chiv on Twitter. You can also check me out on my Twitch, which is basically twitch.com/the Chiv. Other than that, I've also got a YouTube channel somewhere over there where I actually put up video content, which I really need to start doing more of. Yeah, slacker.
You make ad revenue off that?
Yes, I do. Not much, but I make some.
Yeah, every little counts, man.
Yeah, well, when your internet's like $100 a month. Jeez.
The struggle is real. But yes, that will be it for us. Once again, thanks everybody, and stay tuned for the next Hunter deck tutorial. Hi, and welcome to, I guess you could call this part 2 of the Hunter tutorial for the Hearthstone Jamaica community. We already had a special guest on, the Chiv, to explain the finer details behind what it is for Face Hunter. Now we're going to have another seasoned Hunter player, Mr. Hemplar himself from Empire Arcadia team, come and give a bit more insight into some other deck archetypes for the Hunter class, so that you know you don't have to play Cancer only. There's multiple strands of Cancer that you can embrace. So without further ado, we're gonna throw things over to Hemplar. Feel free to check out any of our social media information you see on the screen. And with that being said, Hemplar, it's all you.
Alright, thanks Ryan. And I'm back for hopefully a much better series now. We started the series with Shaman. I mean, it was a pilot. That was a pilot, the test run. Um, and since then we've gotten some good tutorials. I hope to follow some of the great tutorials with something insightful. I do have notes this time, which is good. So I should be able to cover some good points when it comes to the Hunter class. My screen is shared, right? You're showing
Indeed.
that I've been playing Hunter since closed beta.
Dirty
Yeah,
Hunter.
I got I'm getting some feedback. Yeah, in closed beta, the highest rank was I think 3-star master. Got the 3-star master with Hunter. Like I played nothing but Hunter back then. I went to Warlock. Over 4,000 wins. I can tell you that close to half of these are Hunter games. So I've been playing a ton of Hunter. So that's it. I don't think I need to say anything else in terms of introduction. Before I do go into the class cards, I just want to speak a bit about the class in general and just some tips to improve your Hunter play. First thing we can look at is the hero power because that's one of the main things that distinguishes each hero.
Indeed.
The Hunter hero power is
The most powerful hero power in the game.
It's arguable.
Next
But
to
I
the
will say
Warlock.
about the Hunter. Yeah. Oh, and I have 380 rank wins with Hunter. So I've been playing a lot of Hunter. Steady shot, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero for 2 mana, 2 damage to the enemy hero. What I like about this hero power is what I like to refer to as inevitability. The cool thing about the Hunter hero power is that eventually you will get your opponent to 0 and you'll win the game. The win condition being bring your opponent from 30 to 0. The Hunter hero power eventually wins you the game, and that I think is one of the main reasons why people call this the cancel because of inevitability. There's always this thing in the back of your opponent's mind that if the game goes on, the Hunter will kill you. Regardless of the cards played, regardless of what's happening on the board, you're always on a clock. Just the basic chip damage from the Hunter hero. And that's why people call it cancel. Because from beginner to expert, it doesn't matter your board state or your cards, you're on a clock. And that's one of the strongest hero powers in the game, hands down. Notably though is that when you look at classes that so-called counter other classes, the hero power gives you a good indication of that. So for instance, the warrior is seen as a hunter counter largely due to the hero power, which is gain 2 armor, so it effectively negates the hunter's hero power. That being said, the second tip, well, the first tip for playing hunter, I'd say, is trying to find a way to weave in your hero power during plays. While it's always better to play minions, you should always try and weave in your hero power, because as simple as 3 hero powers is about 1/6 on your opponent health. That's 9 out of 30. That's about 1/6. 15 hero powers is full, because that's 15 times 2, 30. So as much as you can, you should try and count mana for your turn, count mana for your next turn, and figure out when you can weave in your hero power along with playing cards. I'll demonstrate that with actual games. The second tip again is figuring out when to trade and when to go to face with the hunter. Another thing with this whole cancer theme is that people joke and say, well, with hunter you just run everything to the player face. I'm sure the ship covered face hunter and did a lot of that. People ask, alright, so it's an easy deck to play because you just run everything to face.
Yep, that was one of the highlights of the deck, the fact that it's a very easy to build, so very cost effective budget wise, and B, the premise behind it is very simple. You want to primarily go face, but there will be times that you do need to trade.
Yeah, and what I point out is that it's a valid question when you'll have people often ask, why I can't just run everything to face? Like legit, just play everything go to face, ignore the board completely. And it's a simple answer. Minions do damage over time. So if you have a minion on the board, you play as opposed to comparing it to a spell. Let me go in the collection just to illustrate because I'm gonna. So for instance, you play Arcane Shot, which is 1 mana, 2 damage. You spend 1 mana and the 2 damage to face. That's fine, but that's it. You can't get more than 2 damage from Arcane Shot. That is it. It's done. Whereas say Brave Archer, for instance, if you play Brave Archer for 1 mana, it's a 2/1 minion. If it survives, it can do 2 damage to your opponent face on one turn. If it survives for the next turn, it's 4 damage. That's 1 mana, 4 damage, and on and on. So your minions will always value more than your spell and your hero power, and that is why you trade to protect your minions. So for instance, if you have
Unless it's something like head crack.
exactly, Headcrack is one of the
There are few spell
cards
cards that has
spell
infinite
card.
value.
Yeah, because it returns to your hand, and it's the only spell card that you play and it returns to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So minions you generally value. So if you have say an Arcane Golem on the board, which is 4 attack, and you have a Leponum which is 2, it makes sense to trade your Leponum to protect your Arcane Golem because it's more damage over time. Simple as that. And that's why you don't just run everything to face, because of damage over time. And that's something with Hunter. I guess a third tip is that you always have to be counting the damage in your hand, the damage on board, the damage you want to count at least 2 turns ahead. I sometimes go as far as 3, but you want to count at least 2 ahead, so that when you draw a new card, it takes you like a second or two to do the calculations. So you constantly know how much you need for lethal. Because with Hunter being a fast deck, you want to kill them as quick as possible. And with cards like Reno now, it's even more crazy. A thing we used to do in chess is for each play, each turn, you run through 2 things in your mind. The first thing, before you even look at the board state and talk about trading and looking at value plays, the first thing you have to consider is, do you have lethal? That's the most important question. Regardless of class that you're playing, regardless of the deck, do you have lethal? Based on what's in your hand, based on what's on the board, can you find lethal on that turn? If you can, absolutely nothing else matters. You've just won. So
Go
you
for
find
lethal.
lethal.
Yep.
Simple. And that's why that's the first thing you have to check for. It's very, very easy to fall into the trap of
And miss lethal.
value trade. Yeah, and just value trade. Because, like, say you have a great trade on the board.
BRB.
Do I continue?
Hell yeah, you continue. You think we're paying you to slack off here?
Alright. So yeah, the first thing you do is check for lethal. Because in the grand scheme of things, nothing else matters. If you don't have lethal, it's easy to check as well. If you're behind, does my opponent have lethal the next turn? Which would mean that no matter what you do, you have to stop that the next turn because they'd win before you. So that's the first thing you have to check for lethal. Talking about lethal, it's a fourth tip for Hunter, and it's something I like to talk about a lot, is playing to win versus playing not to lose. Playing to win means actively searching for lethal, sometimes at the risk of dying yourself. Again, when you're playing a fast, aggressive deck that likes to get out there and pose the questions to your opponent, they should find the answer. It's not a matter of defending yourself, it's a matter of you eking out lethal before they find it. I see a lot of players make the mistake as well when they use spells to clear minions, when sometimes it would be best to hold it to possibly find lethal the next turn or the turn after, which is why it's important again to count the damage that you have. Talking about spells, one last tip before I go into a few important class cards is talking about reach. Um, reach meaning primarily spells. We call it reach because it's, for one, it's hidden and you can bypass taunts with spells. Um, the cool thing about the spells and reach is that your opponent cannot effectively play around reach. Whereas with your minions on the board, your opponent can look at the attack damage, look at the health, and they can avoid bad trades. For instance, if you have a 5/5 on the board like a lower fed, they won't play Sludge Belcher because it just dies for free. Whereas if you have Kill Command in your hand, they will play Sludge Belcher because they don't know what you have in your hand. And so it's good to hold spells, play your minions, hold spells, and you'll often get good trades, and you'll find lethal. Another very the last tip, I promise. A very important thing, and this is specific to Hunter, and I'll point it out again when I'm playing some games, is reach often dictates how fast you should be playing. And it's often the signal, the catalyst from switching from trading on the board to just going to face and trying to end. For example, if I'm playing a game, the board state is dynamic. We're trading, but again, the hunter hero power is chipping at your opponent health, and then I draw into say a kill command and a quick shot, and I have say 5 or 8 reach damage, spell damage in my hand. Then I say, hey, look at the opponent health. I can probably win the game over 2 turns or 3. So it's time to stop trading and just go to face. So reach is often, when you get those kill commands, you get those quick shots, when you get spells, it often changes your play style. Or it often should get you to think about eking out lethal instead of controlling the board. That being said, we go into some class cards. I'm just gonna point out some of the more important ones because I heard that the Chiv went over a few. Talking about reach, talking about one of my favorite hunter cards. It is Unleash the Hounds. This card is absolutely ridiculous. For each enemy minion, summon a 1/1 hound with charge. The absolutely great thing about Unleash the Hounds is that it punishes people for being aggressive or just holding the board. And importantly, against a hunter, you need to be aggressive and you need to actively control the board, or else the hunter will just chip you down and you lose. So it really puts your opponent in a very tough place, like between a rock and a hard place. They need stuff on the board to challenge you, but at the same time, they don't want to give you a lot of hounds, and that's a great thing about Unleash the Hounds. Again, this card takes a lot of experience to know how to play properly. What I will say with Unleash, one good way to start is if you're about to fall behind on the board, try and use it to secure the board. Don't be stingy with it. Don't hold on it and try and get to like a 4 or 5 hounds. If you can just get 2 and it saves your board, by all means do it, because you don't want to lose the board. That being said, if you have already lost the board and you're just trying to find lethal now because you're probably not going to get back the board, it's good to save Unleash the Hounds, because your opponent will, I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 times overextend to try and finish the game. And then you get a lot of hounds and you may just be able to find lethal. I cannot tell you how many games I have won against really good players with Unleash the Hounds because they overextend to try and close out and you punish them. Unleash the Hounds is awesome. One of the best class cards in the game, hands down. Just looking at reach, the one other spell card I'll talk about is Kill Command. 3 mana 5 damage. It's solid. Again, the great thing about Kill Command, as I was speaking about reach, is that it tends to dictate how fast you need to play. Again, if you're in a state where you're controlling the board and you draw a Kill Command, start looking at how you can figure out lethal, because 3 mana 5 damage along with your hero power 2 as 5 mana 7 damage is actually a lot of damage in a turn, and you may be able to equal lethal. Quickly look at Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark, I believe, is one of, if not the best removal spell in the game. You can get technical and say it's not removal because it doesn't remove a minion from the board. However, it changes a minion's health to 1 for 0 mana. If you look at the other class removals, there's a lot of them don't actually remove minions either. So like Hex and Polymorph, they don't remove the minion, but they do change it into something that's easily removed. Hex is 3 mana, and you give your opponent a 0/1 taunt. Poly is 4 mana. Give them a 1/1. There's Assassinate for Rogue, which is 5 mana. There's Mulch for Druid, which gives your opponent a random card. Naturalize gives your opponent 2 card draw. Paladin has Equality, which is AoE, but it's still 2 mana. And Warlock has Siphon, so which is 6 mana. Hunter's Mark is 0 mana. This is absolutely ridiculous and critical. This is technically free. You're only paying the cost of the card itself. Change a minion's health to 1. Absolutely one of the best removal methods in the game, hands down. Very, very efficient. The last thing I'll talk about with Hunter, I'm hearing some feedback, Ryan.
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm looking through your cards. I don't really see that many gold cards.
Wow. 2 gold carpets. Anyways.
Yeah, as if you're playing Beast Hunter.
But again, just to talk briefly, Hunter is one of those cards which has tribal synergy with Beast. There are a lot of cards that buff Beast get buffed by Beast. So if you're playing Hunter as well, it's
Hunter did it first before Druid.
Yeah, definitely. From close beta, Hunter was probably the first tribal class. Yeah. There wasn't any real synergy with minion types before Hunter. Hone Master, absolutely ridiculous. Give a minion 2/2.
2 for 2 and taunt.
So
for 4 mana.
Yep.
Not bad.
Now that I've covered the beasts, there's one other thing I want to talk about.
Fatigue Hunter?
No, sir. remove myself. There's a particular card for 6 mana called Rena Jax.
We're gonna be rich.
Card single-handedly. I don't even know what the right word is. But anyways, it really screws hunters over because of the first thing I spoke about with our hero power and chip damage and inevitability. The strength of the hunter class was always that over time they will whittle you down and you will die. And you are on a clock.
Yep.
So
the only class that had a way to combat that semi-effectively was warrior with armor, because you can armor past 30 health.
Exactly. So even as good as the priest hero power is, and on the face value you said, all right, let's heal for 2, and the hunter does 2, you're still at a limit of your health. While warrior could always surpass that, so that was a counter. But now with Rena Jackson,
everybody can be rich.
Devastates. That's that dynamic to the hunter play, that dimension of the hunter play, and it really hurts hunters in general, not just face hunter.
You know how I knew that this card was awesome? When I realized that this guy had the exact same initials as me.
Okay.
That's how I knew that this card was going to be so epic.
Thanks for that very insightful.
You're welcome. I'm here all day, folks.
Statement. It's great. But this card absolutely hurts, and as I said, it's not just face hunter, and as much as we'd say, alright, mid-range hunter, we play for value, and we somewhat outgrind the opponent, but the reality is your hero power, that is another dimension to you winning. That is your win condition. At some point you can switch to going aggressive and close out the game. But with Reno, it makes things that much more difficult. Um, but that's Hunter. That's the meta. That's life. Um, it has to do a lot with, again, the fact that it's the only class that puts your opponent under so much pressure that Blizzard has continually nerfed hunters over time because people always complain. Whereas when you play against the other class, you can sit back, analyze your cards, and you can just chill, have a nice time. You're not gonna, you're not pressuring you. The hunter will kill you.
This is true.
So yeah, they have nerfed the hunter really hard over the years, but it's still strong. It's still strong.
Too strong.
Yeah. So the Shiv already covered face. Again, because so many things revolve around the hunter hero power, you'll find that the three common variants, they vary based on the speed of the deck. Face hunter being the fastest, hybrid being in the middle, and mid range being the slowest. And it's important to know that the slowest hunter variant, common variant, is a mid-range deck. That just shows you that hunter in general is an aggressive class. And your slowest deck is a mid-range deck. It still looks to close out the game in the mid to late game. So, as I said, the Shiv covered face. So I'll just briefly look at hybrid. There are many hybrid lists out there. This just happens to be mine. Share a lot of cards in common. What you'll see, what hybrid is, it uses the face cards. So you still dedicate a lot of resources to damage. You play Glaive Zookas, Lepanomes, Bow, Unleash. You still play a lot of damage. I play one Ancient Shade. You're still an aggressive deck, but you throw in a few sticky minions like Shredder and Hymen. So you try to find a middle where face is all out, and they either kill you by turn 5-6 or they just fizzle. And it's important to know that again, why Reno is so disgusting. Face Hunter generally tries to blow you out in the early part of the game, and then once you stabilize, which you will stabilize because Face Hunter plays a lot of weak minions, so eventually you'll get control of the board, but then the hero power would normally just finish it off. Now with Reno, obviously they don't have that option, but yeah, so what hybrid does, it tries to still be aggressive but not completely fizzle out by turn 5 or 6 because you have high main and Shredder, which tend to be a bit more sticky. We should just jump into a hybrid game and I'll explain some of the concepts. This being the middle in terms of speed between face and mid range. We provide like screenshots of the decks.
Alright, so we're gonna get into some gameplay now, so you can unshare the screen and I'll spectate from in the game so that we can minimize the whole lag thing and people can hear your color commentary.
This is true.
So we'll switch over to this capture method. There we go.
Golden Tally.
And then we'll just check our friends list to spectate our resident expert hunter player, Mr. Hemplar.
Let me know when you get in.
I are being loaded in the game as we speak, good sir. Boom! Hunter!
So you're seeing the mulligan.
Uther versus Illyria! I should probably turn down the game volume.
Alright, so we want 1 mana minions, 1 drops. We want 2 drops, 1 drops and 2 drops. It's important to know now that I keep Unleash the Hounds against Paladin because of Mustafa battle.
Mm-hmm.
And Paladins tend to hero power and fill the board with rubbish. I'm still hearing a bit of feed. Okay, it's gone. Also great, we picked up a 1 drop, which is the fun one. Alright, so yeah, people trying out Murlocs.
Yay, something different.
Coining quick shot makes no sense here. Minion, we always prioritize minions, so.
Icky. What you gonna do, Mr. Murloc Paladin player, with your gold portrait? Yeah, you gonna trade that Murloc.
Okay, so he's mixing in some other stuff, which makes sense.
Yeah, shielded minibot is a high value creature, so I wouldn't imagine him cutting it just because it's a Murloc deck.
So I have two options here. I can coin and play say a Eaglehorn bow and go to face, but then my turn 3 is still very awkward.
What to do?
Or I can just hero ball or even quick shot to face. I'm very tempted to keep the quick shot, even though in this matchup it may actually not be better than just running it to face, because in the aggro matchup you want to spend your cards, you don't want to waste time hero point, because most likely the game is gonna end with you still having cards in your hand, so you want to use your cards and not your hero in an aggro matchup. That being said, I'm going to do the opposite of what I said you should do. And I'm going to hear.
Hey, trust me, with Hunter class hero porn is never really truly a bad idea.
In a sense, it's never truly a bad idea, but for maximum efficiency, you should play your cards.
I want to play on curve as much as possible.
Yeah, you should play your cards in an aggro matchup, because you're there, so I get punished. I get punished for not playing my card, which, as I said, you should try and do. That being said, now that we have a better play, we can coin out Shredder. Again, we're prioritizing minions. Against this deck, Face Hunter would have been better against Murloc. Oh, so it is not a full Murloc deck. Interesting.
So,
yeah, we have options. A nice combo is turn 5 Juggler into Unleash, because the odds of him playing something else next turn is very high. So that's always there.
What to do?
I'm very tempted to play my Eaglehorn bow, because Juggler dies for free right now. So we're going to go to face.
just keep pushing that damage.
We're actually going to clear the Divine Shield. And expect Unleash to get some value next turn. And then going to Savannah.
Hoot hoot.
That sucks. The good thing now is that his 3-3, if he trades, is gonna be on 1 health.
Yup. Even more value for Unleash.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why we popped the
Divine Shield.
Divine Shield as well. Because the 1 damage to face, I mean, I'm
Negligible.
I'm tempted to say
Whoa! Get hype, yo! New Murloc legendary. What?
if he gets the Hunter Hero ball, this game just becomes super interesting. Okay, he went the punk out route.
That priest power, boy.
So,
He's a true follower of the light.
so we're gonna upgrade. So now the Unleash combo is ridiculous here. We're going to Hunter's Mark, the 3-4, so that maybe a knife kills it. If not, we'll still just run a hole into it. I mean, we planned this the turn before, so it doesn't take any great thinking. I just made a mistake. Again, I should have. It's not that big of a mistake, but I should have run my weapon into one blade, just so that no knives go to it. But we kind of want to save that 3 damage for face. Because we're the faster deck.
It's all about sequencing.
Yeah. Again, I'll keep the weapon charge because we're going into a pivotal turn where he's gonna put on something big on the board, which we may need help clearing. So the 3 damage to face here. We're not face hunter or hybrid, so we still have to be smart about it. We do have somewhat of a late game with high main next turn, so we want to ensure that our high main is safe, so we keep it up. Oh, his healing is very slow.
He does not like that Murloc.
That's the thing that I tell you about hunters, where you make your opponent get so paranoid, where they'll make some really bad plays just to not die. Even when that was so bad. So we have a really strong game. We can just clear. We'll keep the weapon charge again because Harrison isn't that common, no, thankfully, and neither is Ooze, so we're not in any danger of losing the weapon charge. We're not playing against a mage with freeze.
None may steal us.
Yeah, and there, so like.
That Uldaman keeper.
So again, as I spoke about in the tutorial, once you get kill command, and we even have quick shot, which is great, we start looking for lethal. So we have 6, 7, 7 and 5 is 12, and 3 is 15. So we're actually very close. So we need to figure out over the course of, I'd say, 2, max 3 turns how we're gonna work out this lethal. That being said, lay on hands is 8 mana, so you could lay on hands. So we probably need to be very aggressive here because we have burn. So clear minions. Again, we don't need to burn unless we're going for the killer clearing, so it's super important. So you heal all. I played freezing. I'm tempted to leave this minion on the board because we're gonna get another weapon charge as well, which is great. So keeping the weapon made a lot of sense. We're not worried about him getting another older man play because we don't have anything over 3 attacks. So. Getting another war leader too is neither here nor there. Again, we went face because we have burn, and we're probably gonna close out either next turn or the turn after. It does get a bit like a good here. I don't think it's gonna be enough. Consecrate would be disastrous, but I don't play. I don't think it would be wise to play. We didn't need to play around consecrate here when we have so much burn in our hand. Thank you for the weapon charge, sir. Appreciate it.
Unavoidable.
Which means he has contact.
One of the trickier things about playing against Hunter, trying to figure out if you want to avoid the trap or give them the weapon charge.
So he's another. Oh, great! We have 2 kill command, which means we need to check for lethal. We can play our entire hand, which is 3 and 3, 6, and 3, 9, 9 and 3 is 12. And 2, 14, so we're 1 off. As I said, we don't necessarily need to show our entire hand. So we're going to swing space, 0, 4. We could be greedy, saying that we're gonna keep the quick shot to draw a card, but
Could be greedy and wait on a beast as well.
that is exactly the better play. So while I'm going to use the quick shot, I'm going to keep my kill commands because we may get a beast. He can get good healing now with lay on hands, but he just uses mana, so he's not going to get lay on hands. He's gonna get 2, 4 healing, 1 from the hero paw, 2 from the hero paw, and 2 from the weapon. And if we get a beast, we will have lethal. Even without the beast, we have lethal. Yeah, and
Poor little paladin player. I feel it for you trying something new.
That's what hybrid does. So it's balancing as you see, balancing, controlling the board and going to play. And figuring out when to make the switch. That is the most important part of hunting.
GG! Sorry, Tarquin, but you are the latest victim of the Hearthstone Jamaica tutorial series.
Yeah. RIP. In pieces.
Rest in pusher.
So we're playing another one, yeah. And I can.
What was the next one now? The next deck is mid range.
So do I play mid range?
I don't think he
or
likes
play
when
one
you do
more
that.
hybrid? Do we have time? We don't have any time.
Yeah, one, go for
Doesn't-
yeah, go
like
for the mid range.
Jerk.
Oh, the mid range.
He's trying to run away.
Let me just jump back. Oh, snap! I just remember our screen is not shared. So let me just pick the mid range deck. And talk about the difference. We can post a deck list after, right?
I can add it when I edit the video if you want.
Yeah, and that would be great. The difference with the mid-range list over the hybrid list is we dump some of our charge creatures and we don't run Lepanome because we're not pushing for that extra damage. We run all the efficient hunter cards. And we still play aggressive. I'm gonna assume this is another Murloc Paladin. Again, same thinking, we keep Unleash the Hounds for Muster and for Murlocs. We really need a 2-drop. Oh god, this hurts.
No 1-drop for you.
Yeah, this is that's one of the I'd say is a weakness with mid-range hunter as well. You're so reliant on your 2-mana minions and hitting the early curve because your hero power, as you see, doesn't help you control the board any at all. So you need minions on the board early.
Not unless you play Steam Weedle Sniper.
Yeah, which it's a very substandard card for another conversation. Oh great, he didn't have anything. But again, we still
Have nothing.
yeah
Like Whitney Houston.
yeah, you just said that. Oh god. But yeah.
I was hoping that I'd see J Dawes drop that turn 1 Sir Finley Mergleton and get that Warlock hero power.
And, well, I'd actually love the Warlock hero power.
Yeah, because it helps you.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Again, it's one of the things where, as I was talking about hero powers and what counters what, it's, Hunter is strongly favored against Warlock in general because both their hero powers contribute to getting the Warlock to 0 health. So it's crazy. Because they're Murlocs and they tend to get buffed by other Murlocs. When you see a Murloc hit the board, you want to kill it with fire. You don't want to wait.
Poor little Murlocs.
Playing my Eagle Horn into a 2-1 feels wrong because I'm overkilling it by 2. Unleash clears, so I'm leaning more towards Unleash.
Do you really want to burn a Unleash on 2 Murlocs?
Which could get punished by a turn 3 Mustafa battle. So these are the decisions. Overkill a 2-1 or risk dying to Mustafa battle. Risk having no answers to Mustafa battle. I'll overkill the 2-1 because he may flood again, he may play even more Murloc and I'll still get value out of Unleash. There's the Mustafa, so it was the right play. Again, not just with Hunter, but with any class, you have to think at least a turn ahead. At least 1 turn ahead. And it's just a matter of knowing the popular decks, know what to play, so that at a certain mana cost, you know what they're likely to do. Again, I'm not going to swing because our weapon is very valuable to clearing, say, a turn 4 piloted shredder. So we'll keep it. we're probably gonna hit Belcher on 5. Um, Lotheb doesn't necessarily block any paladin spell right now. Okay, so again, keeping the open charges right and clear with either unleash and swing into in, which is a waste of unleash in my opinion. And again, this is why this card is so great. Hunter's Mark is top 2 removal in the game. And minor.
Indeed.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So, Lotheb is more attack power, but I don't think we're blocking any spells.
Turn 5. Don't really see the paladin playing spells much.
Yeah, it is just a stronger minion though, which is cool. Belcher. Like if I play Belcher and he plays Belcher, it's like a stalemate type of thing. I play Belcher. I like to keep Lotheb as a trump card.
Yeah, Belcher seems like a decent.
Like on turn 7 to block out Leon.
Hey, now you can play Lotheb into Lotheb.
That is an option. I'm thinking I'm playing my Haunted Creep on
Houndmaster.
Yeah, because it trades into the Lotheb. Because what I don't want to do is he's going to kill my Belgium. And then I don't want to run my Lotheb into his, and his Lotheb would get so much value. So I think the Creeper plays better.
And it plays on curve.
Yeah, and it's definitely on. And I got to face because I'm not playing into a bad trade.
Face is the place.
Of course. Again, we don't have any reach, so we're just trading right now and waiting. Consecrate is a reality.
Oh wow.
So again, we're gonna block against Consecrate by playing Lotheb next turn.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah, I think we need. Or we just kill our minions. We don't need.
Yeah, I think all you need to do is just trade the 2 spiders into the Lotheb. You can run the taunt into the 1/1, go face for 4 with the 4/3, and you can summon. Yeah, you can summon Hymen,
Yeah,
or you can Lotheb and Hero Power, which is more on curve. So
yeah, they're both good plays. Lotheb, again, I don't think he's going to consecrate. Be super greedy to consecrate. Again, Hymen is just so powerful that you want it to hit the board.
the only thing I can think of is he'd have enough mana for Equality Consecrate.
Yeah, which I don't want to play around either. It's fine. If he finds it, it's fine. Because we still have turn 8 on the curve, which is Lotheb and Animal Companion. I just want to hit, when you get the Hymen, you want it to hit the board as fast as possible. And your opponent is definitely on the clock when Hymen hits. Force him to find an answer. And he could have Dr. Boom, which is a common 7, which Hymen deals with. Okay, so he's going to go for the RNG.
Reporting for duty.
Murloc Tiny Fin? Damn it.
I wouldn't mind Tiny Fin.
I love that card so much, it's so cute.
That's I'm reaching. Okay, so we have Juggler Unleash, which is always a very attractive play. But I feel like we need to Lotheb here. We'll get into that turn where we're probably going to draw Reach. We haven't seen any King Command or King Shot so far. We are probably going to draw it very soon. And we have 10 on board. We have with Hero Power, that's 12. With Unleash, that's 3 and 12, that's 15. He's at 21. We're just 6 off lethal. So we want to look to close out. That being said, he has a bomb on the board, which we need to clear. This gets value over time, so we kind of need to kill it. So I'm going to Lotheb to block any potential counter play or healing, and I'm going to Unleash to help clear the silly thing God. Touchpad, sorry. Oh God. I won't finish in time. Oh shit, touchpad.
I know that feels so
Please,
well.
please, please, remind. Oh, that's funny. I need, as much as I'm explaining, I need to play fast.
Trust me, it happens to me on my phone all the time.
Because we would have had lethal this turn.
Yup.
If I had swung to face with the 4. We may still have lethal. Um, let's hope for
Victory is yours.
yeah.
And he gives up.
Because we probably still would have fine. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I think I demonstrated the principle of trading and then looking for the key turns when you switch to aggression. That's when you win with Hunter. So one with hybrid, one with mid range. Do we play one more?
Ruthless aggression.
Yeah. You have to have that killer instinct looking for the key turn when you just got to face.
This is true. So that covers hybrid and mid range,
Yeah,
and that's 45 minutes. So I think we're gonna
some
cut that there because we have to splice these together. So with that being said, final thoughts on the class and why you think people should play it.
Hunter. Again, it's an aggressive class. I'm always for aggression. Um, I think it's always better to be asking the questions, to be dictating the flow of the game. It puts you in the driver's seat. I mean, it's a lot for me. I think it's a lot easier for beginners as well. There are less nerves. You're less nervous when you are the one making the plays. You are the one creating the opportunities and forcing your opponent. And again, when you have the aggression, when you have tempo, when you ask questions, you tend to put your opponent under more pressure. And as I said, with your hero power and all of that, your opponent tends to make small mistakes where they end up losing the game. Whether they overextend into unleash or they prioritize healing themselves, they prioritize taunting and just make over. There's some slight mistakes which add up in the end, and you just win. But that's the power of the hunter class. It forces
Yeah.
people to play bad. It has some of the most efficient minions in the game with high main. Oh god, I didn't get to talk about the secrets. The secrets are such a big part of Hunter, but um,
Well, if you want, you can
yeah,
touch on them now. That's the whole point of the closing argument. So feel free to touch on them if you want.
quickly, 3 classes. Am I right? Right, 3 classes have secrets.
Yep.
Paladin with 1 mana secrets, which because they're 1 mana, they aren't that great. That being said, with the introduction of Mysterious Challenger, which pulls them onto the board, they become decent. Um, there is Hunter, which falls for me at the sweet spot, which is 2 mana. It's not too expensive, it's not too cheap. And they're all huge tempo secrets. I mean, freezing is often underestimated. It pretty much buys you a complete turn. When somebody swings, it goes back to their hand and it adds 2 cost to the card. And I think, as I demonstrated, a turn for the hunter class is extremely significant. If you get a turn up on your opponent, you're probably going to win, and that's what freezing does. Explosive 2, it's a 2 mana, 2 damage AoE, including the enemy hero. Absolutely ridiculous. Say the secrets are strong by themselves, and what pushes them over the edge is Mad Scientist. I still say that that's one of the strongest cards ever to be introduced in Hearthstone. Mad Scientist, which pulls a secret from your deck and puts it on the battlefield. Any card that pulls something from your deck for free and puts it on the field is ridiculous. And with the huge tempo that secrets, that hunter secrets gives you, it's absolutely ridiculous. So, but I'd say for any single hunter deck, playing Mad Scientist and Secret is a must. You have to do it. It's just too much value to not play it. So yeah, I just wanted to just cover that because I didn't talk about secrets when I went over the class cards. Very, very important. And Mad Scientist may as well be a hunter card. You have to put it in every hunter deck. getting your secrets for free is just amazing. You can use that 2 mana into hero power instead of playing a secret. But as I said, it's an aggressive class. It's a class that takes initiative and it forces your opponent, it puts them under pressure, which is always good. And you can sit back and watch them fumble and then you just kill them. I get the benefit of people calling it cancel when they just misunderstand the deck. That being said, on the downside, Reno did hurt, and the fact that Blizzard are aware that beginners find it very unnerving to play against Hunter because they just see themselves losing life and they're not sure what to do and they panic. So Blizzard tends to nerf the Hunter class and introduce stuff more and more healing in the game. That being said, I think as I demonstrated, you can still eke out wins with Hunter. Mid-range Hunter in particular is always a legend-worthy deck. I think since the inception of Hearthstone, from the first season, mid-range Hunter has always been a super strong deck. It's a deck that can get you to legendary. You just need to invest the time. And that is it. It's a good class. I rate it as one of the top 3 classes in the game. Warlock being first. Hunter is definitely in the top 3. And if you invest the time to learn Hunter, you will be rewarded. And that is my 2 cents on the Hunter class. I'm sorry I didn't get to
Oh, I'm sorry. I kind of zoned out when you said people misunderstood Hunter for cancer.
Oh.
What were you saying now?
But it's the first thing I said in the hero part. Yeah, people get pissed when they see themselves losing lives and the cards can't help them. So, yeah, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Indeed. And with that being said, that brings us to the end of this Hunter tutorial. I'd say thanks to the Chiv, thanks to Hemplar for taking the time to give this knowledge onto the masses. As always, may RNG just be in your favor, and until next time, keep on gaming.
Oh, yes.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like all our videos. Do go check us out on Facebook. You can search us under the name Zalgo Cometh. Follow us on Twitter at Mr_Gamehead. And as always, keep on gaming. Visit our game review blog at www.zalgocometh.blogspot.com. See you guys later.